It comes out. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
We all understand. Okay, Courtney, question number 1. Tell us about your Beachbody journey and how you became a coach.
All right, so I'm gonna try not to do this in like 30 minutes because it's like really long. But my journey really kind of started in May of 2015 when, prior to that, my mom had a lot of success with Beachbody. She started with PiO and Shakeology, and I told her that this was a scam, and then I was skeptic, and I told her to run, and she didn't listen to me. And at the time, I was still a competitive dancer, and I thought I knew what healthy living was. I thought that I knew how to be healthy, and so I was like, you do you, Mom, like, okay. And I remember coming home from college, like on a weekend, and my mom was like, come try my workout with me. I was like, huh, okay. And I remember like piecing out halfway through, I was like, this is boring, but really I couldn't keep up. And I was like, oh, okay. So long story short, I was then living at home for a couple months at the end of college, and I was drinking my mom's Shakeology. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And my mom had like a following on Facebook, and anytime she would post, I would share it for her. I was like the best daughter in the world. I was like her marketer. It was wonderful. And I decided, by the way, I grew up in Minnesota, born and raised, and I was about to move from Minnesota down to Florida, knowing a family that I babysat for like 2 months, and they're like, you want to get out of Minnesota? Come live with us. I was like, okay. And so my mom was like, you don't get to drink my Shakeology anymore, you have to get it yourself. So in May of 2015, I became a discount coach, merely for the discount, really. And there's a big chunk of time that I then created my own Facebook page, and I was posting healthy things, and I was posting my Shakeology, but I never committed to a fitness program or a meal plan that entire time, and I actually gained 20 pounds. So that was just me being naive, and so it wasn't until, you know, I got into grad school, I got my master's in occupational therapy, and I was about to leave for my first, we call it level 2 internship, where you're basically like, you're full-time, like in the clinic. I was commuting crazy hours, and I just remember like looking at myself in the mirror and being like, okay, like no more being naive, like this is bad. Like I was sickened by my own image, and that hit me really hard. Through that time in grad school, there was people that mocked me a lot. My Facebook name is Courtney's Core Fitness, and they're like, ooh, Courtney's Core Fitness, and so that, it just all kind of caught up with me, and I was like, you know what, like something has got to give. I had just, you know, moved from St. Augustine to Fort Walton Beach. I was in a new town. I was living in an Airbnb for a couple months. I was going to be a totally new routine. I was like, let's just give this stuff a try. And I committed to Shift Shop for 3 weeks, and that was the first time that I was like, oh, all I gotta do is like do what they say, like follow, like just do it. Oh, okay. And I haven't looked back since. And during that time, my mental health, like that's a whole nother 2-hour story, but I have generalized anxiety disorder, and I was medicated for many years, and I was just done. Like I wanted to improve my like internal health, and so I was just like, I don't want to be on medicine anymore. Not because of a stigma, but I just didn't want to have that connection with medicine. And so it was during Shift Shop that I actually weaned off and got off of my anxiety medicine. And I've been off since, but Chris Downing was that voice that always told me to keep going. And he is to this day like that person that has always motivated me. And so that was pretty awesome. And so, you know, fitness-wise, I've always been committed to a program. I've always been committed to my nutrition, and I've never looked back. And I absolutely just love the workouts. I love challenging myself, going outside my comfort zone. Now, as far as coaching, like I said, I was like discount coach for Lord knows how long, and I never really did anything with it. Like I just played around with it, but you know, my upline is my mom, and she's not actively working the business, and so I didn't really have like a strong upline. I kind of did a lot of stuff on my own, but I will never forget, I was actually living in Richmond Hill. I initially lived in Savannah, and then I lived there for 2 weeks and got harassed every time I walked to my car, and I said, nope, Richmond Hill it is. So I was staying with a classmate's mom in Richmond Hill and commuting to Savannah for my pediatric rotation, and I had 1 week left. I had completely run out of loan money. I had I was working 50 hours a week. There was no time for a part-time job. And I already was having anxiety attacks every time I went to the grocery store because I felt guilty for buying myself food. I wasn't sure already how I was going to put gas in my gas tank to drive from Savannah to St. Augustine for my graduation ceremony. And then I got a phone call from a debt collector that was like, if you don't pay this $300 bill, like, you're in trouble. And I have a picture of just me in tears because that was the moment. This was December of 2017 where I was like, I have no other way to make money. Like, I've got to make this work. Like, I had no choice. And I have never looked back since. Like, December 2017 was that first time I'd hit Success Code 5 maybe like 2 times in like 3.5 years. And I hit SC10 in December of 2017, and I've hit 10 and above ever since. And that's where I'm at today.
That's it. Interview done. So you kind of touched on it, but December is where you kind of got your butt in gear. Mm-hmm. What changes did you make in your business to really propel you this past year?
So I kind of stopped playing the like woe is me card, and I just was like, you know what? Like, this is doable. I saw everyone else around me doing it, and I was like, why can't I? And one of the things, so with our upline, I'm part of Melissa McAllister's bigger downline, and every month, if you hit SC10, had 500 PV, and added 3 coaches, they had this thing called Executive Club, and there was executive calls that you could earn. And I remember January of 2018, we had a call with Danielle Natoni, and that woman can light a fire under anyone's ass. And I just remember she was talking about like pushing for a lead. I was like, I don't know what all this is, but like, okay, we're doing it. And I don't even think I knew at the time like how to earn it, but I was like, I'm just gonna do the things. And again, I was from January until the end of February. I was graduated from grad school. I was studying for boards. And again, you don't get to work during that. I was nannying part-time for like 3 hours a day, but I needed that supplemental income. I was living in someone else's house with a family of 4 children, and I was losing my mind. I will never have 4 children, but it was kind of like that. I had hit these low points where I was like, it is now or never. It is like I had no choice, and I just realized I never lost touch of what I was capable of. I am all about like big push goals, but having those shorter term goals to like having these benchmarks. So that's why the leadership ladder is so important, because yeah, I would love to go 5-star elite right now, but like there's some other goals we got to tackle first. And so not completely throwing myself to this like unobtainable goal, but really just kind of setting these shorter benchmarks. And that, you know, so I said my team is Team Impact, and it's actually an acronym. I don't know how I thought of it, but it happened. It stands for I must push and conquer today. And so it's this mindset of just taking small chunks of things and tackling each small thing at a time, tackling these 24 hours we have today. And tomorrow, we'll worry about tomorrow. But today, well, what can I do today to better my health? What can I do today to build my business? And taking that step every single day to, you know, create success.
I did not know that's what Team Impact stands for,
Yeah.
but that like takes it even to the next level.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay. What does a day of coaching look like for you?
I'm going to preface this and say that it's not lucrative. The way I do it is not lucrative. Right now, I'm in this like huge season of hustle. Like I have some huge goals, and I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I wake up at 5 a.m. every day, and I love morning workouts. I'm still trying to figure out if I like working out before or after work. But generally, as of lately, I wake up, I have my own little like morning routine, and then I get myself dressed for work, and then I sit down and I tackle coaching work up until I leave for work at 7 a.m. From 7:20 when I get to work up until 4 p.m., I'm like not a coach. I work in a skilled nursing facility. It's very kind of fast-paced, and I'm constantly doing something. I'm running between patient rooms, and even during my lunch, I'm documenting. Like, that's free documentation time, and in skilled nursing, like, you don't waste a single minute. So I'm not, sporadically I may answer a message, but I'm very off the clock when it comes to coaching at work. So when I come home from work, though, that's usually when I'll get my workout done, and that's like, the stress of today is just like, take it out on the weights. I love Lift 4. Like, that'll forever be my favorite. Like, yes. So that's my like release time. There are some days I come home from work and I'm just emotionally drained. Working in skilled nursing, I have a lot of end of life discussions. I have people who just like their life has completely just been rocked. I work in orthopedics, so I see a lot of like hip and knee replacements and stuff like that, but sometimes these 95-year-old adults, a hip replacement is like a big deal, and they can't walk, and they're trying to learn how to live their life again, and so it just takes a lot out of you mentally. It's a job where I'm constantly pouring myself out into others, and so I got home, I turn on my Hillsong Worship Pandora, blare it, and I just lift some weights. And there are some days like the gangster app comes out, but most days it's worship. I'm an equal mix of the two. There's no in between. But and then after I get my workout done, I kind of just like will aimlessly scroll through social media, have some dinner, and then I work my coaching business like straight up until 9:15, and then I go to bed and I rinse and repeat. So I don't have a significant other, I live by myself, I don't have to worry about other people's schedules, so I kind of have that freedom right now. So it's like the season of my life, I'm very just like business oriented, so I have no problem staying in on Friday and Saturday nights to work my business, because I'd rather do that than go out to the bars. Like, I'm a very boring 26-year-old, but that's what my day looks like.
Awesome. Favorite personal development?
Okay, I think it's funny you ask me that because I suck at personal development. It's something I'm trying to get better on. Like, we all have, there's one vital behavior that is usually bottom of the totem pole. Personal development, that's it for me. I used to be huge into podcasts when I was commuting 45 minutes to and from internship. I now work 12 minutes away, and because of the work I do, I'm either listening to Hillsong Worship on the way to work, and then listening to like EDM on the way home to like pet myself and bring myself back to life. It's just very like draining. But as of recently, I have actually 2 books that I'm reading, and one of them is a faith-based book. It's called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. If you ever feel like life is up to get you and you want a faith-based book, it speaks to me, and it just kind of explains like there's purpose behind these valleys in life. Because it is a lot of hills and valleys, like in our business and our health, like there's a lot of ups and downs. And so that's the book that I usually read at night when I'm in a funk and I just need something to kind of like make sense of my messy life. But the other book that's more like beach body is Get Over Your Damn Self. That book has been like, okay, Courtney, like, your shit together. And it's actually the book that I'm recommending to all of my new coaches because of just like the action steps that can be implemented through that. And so that's personal development for me. Sometimes just going to church is my personal development because sometimes Jesus is needed.
I have Get Over Your Damn Self, and I have not read it yet, so I'm putting it on my to-do list.
It's good.
Okay, this is a good one because we know there's a lot of new coaches in the room. What is your best advice for new coaches?
Be coachable. Take the things that your upline says and like implement them. And do not compare yourself. That is going to strip away the joy of this business. It is a journey. I unfollowed 99% of the coaches on our team, or just the other surrounding coaches. Like, no offense to them, but I get sucked into a comparison trap, whether it's with my business, my fitness, X, Y, and Z. And so that's that post that Sean T put on his Instagram story was like a comparison post because it was a naked coffee picture. So yes, it was a little risque. My father's not happy, but it's okay. But I was literally comparing myself to the coach that I brought with me on the cruise. She's got like a 6-pack, and I could see my rolls on the side, and she had like this many rolls, and I was like, oh my gosh, this picture is not going up on social media. Like, hell no. And I was like, listen to yourself. Like, when you guys start to feel like you're comparing yourselves in whatever aspect, like, just like listen to yourself. And would you speak that way to someone else? The way that you speak to yourself is we are so mean to ourselves. And that's why I kind of made that post. And so for new coaches, take things, kind of that mindset around impact. Take things one day at a time, one milestone at a time, one goal at a time, and implement the things that you're learning. There's nothing more frustrating than when I have a new coach and I tell them, like, here's 2 action steps. And then they don't do them and they're like, well, I think I'm just gonna like cancel my Shakeology because coaching's not paying for it. And I'm like, well, we talked last week. Did you implement the things that we talked about? No. Well, like, when you are provided the tools, like, it is our job to help you be successful. So take them, because we wouldn't tell you to do it if we were like, not gonna help you at all, but here, do it. So there's purpose behind the things that are being provided to you. So that's kind of my biggest tip, is to be coachable, take advice, and don't give up on yourself. Yeah, don't compare yourself and don't give up on yourself. Like, you guys are so capable. Like, when she asked me like to speak, I was like, I think I responded like with an Instagram video. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but sure. Yeah, I made her wait a week. I had to think on it because I was like, I feel like I have nothing to provide. Like, I'm a show. I don't have my business together. My invite list, I use an electronic system. I use Google Street, but I still have 50 lists all over my desk. And I've got follow-up, like my inbox is like all these follow-ups I have to do, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But just know, like, I don't have this shit together. Like, you're not supposed to all the time. Like,
And that's why I asked you, because you're still
I'm a
figuring
mess.
it out.
I'm a
You're
mess.
figuring it out. Okay. Last question. What's next?
And I'm going to prophesize this for
You're
y'all to
speaking
hear.
it into existence.
Yes, next year I will be a full-time coach, like, without a doubt. I love what I do as an OT. I would not give it up for the world. I want to go back to being a, like, per diem or a part-time therapist. But I recently have, like, really, the Marie Kondo Netflix thing where it's like, what brings you joy? Like, that's how I've kind of, like, shifted my mindset about life lately. And being able to wake up and watch the sunrise at the ocean brings me joy. And so I've been living my weekends how I want to live my weekdays. And so my team, like, I tell them, like, let's shoot 5-star elite. Like, a lot of them don't really know what that means. And so it's like, all right, we're shooting for team leader, and then we're shooting for 2-star, and then we're going to aim for premier. It's like hitting those small baby steps. But really the main thing holding me back from going full-time is the fact that I need benefits and I'm not married. So if anyone knows where to get benefits or a husband, let me know. But no, the big thing is I've had so many people in the last 4 years tell me I couldn't do it. And so that lights a fire into me. I'm like, watch me. Like, all y'all that said, made fun of me, mocked me for what I do, like, look at me now. And so what's next is to hopefully take this full time next year and do some per diem therapy, because I don't want to ever lose touch of what I do as an OT. And my heart is truly in those 2 areas, but having control of my own schedule, and y'all love healthcare until you work in it. So it's the politics of healthcare are just added stress to the job. So that's what's next.
You put it into the universe.
Yes,
so
it's out there.
It hears you. So that's all of the formal questions. Do y'all have any questions for Courtney?
I was just that thorough.
You just blew us away.
That was sarcasm.
Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit. I, too, don't really have a solid upline. So, and I basically have taken the same attitude where it's like, I'm just going to do this. And I have support system, that aren't, like specifically, this is the person that you signed up with, right? She doesn't really exist in my world. But did you have like conversations with yourself? Like, what was it that you were just like, okay, I don't have this person necessarily to help me, so here's what I'm going to do instead.
Yeah. So, and I will kind of give a little more of a background. I do have access to wonderful tools with with my upline, but for me, they like Melissa McAllister and all of them, they've been doing this for like 9+ years, and the way they do business is a lot different that a lot of the younger coaches are doing their business, and so it just doesn't match with me. Like, they have great resources, they're amazing, they're phenomenal, but they're all moms of like multiple children. That's not me, that's not my market. And so I worked really hard to create, I'm like, you know what, it's not gonna work with that, like I gotta do something for myself. And it's been my own mini like life project to have a younger type of tribe, and that's kind of, my team is all younger, there's a few married, but none of them really have kids. And I've networked with, like with Allie, and then I went to NLC in February and networked a crap ton, and just like the growth by reaching out to people that are outside of your team, but within like your own niche market, and collaborating, and having success partners and all that kind of stuff really just was like, you have your upline, you have your team for support and all that stuff, but it doesn't mean you put your blinders on and ignore every other coach out there. Right. So really reaching out to other coaches that are outside of your team and bouncing ideas and seeing, well, I'm doing it this way and it's not really working. I mean, seriously, my Google form was like, this girl I met at NLC, she's like, oh girl, let me give you a Google form. And it's amazing, I love it. And so that would be kind of my tip. And if that answered your question. I just went off on a tangent.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Courtney.